Good morning. Thank you all for being here. Thanks for joining us today. My name is Mark Clark. I'm the Executive Director of Development.
And I'm Katie Enzor, and I'm the Director of Development Initiatives.
So I've been with MTSU for about 2 years now, just over 2 years in August. Katie has been with us for less than a year. Katie works directly with the Honors College, the James Walker Library, and then she kind of catches everything else that's not linked to a specific college. So things like student life, fraternities and sororities, university college, the graduate school, things like that. But we're here today to talk a little bit about the Honors College and some of the things we've been doing since we arrived. So,
All righty.
yeah. Uh-oh, I bounced. That moved quickly, didn't it?
That's a good one over there.
There we go. So, when we first arrived, both of us, me 2 years ago, Katie about a year ago, tried to learn as much as we could about the Honors College. And it's really extraordinary. The work that's being done here, you'll meet the students later. They are why we are all here. They are the stories. But from our vantage point, we were trying to get a handle on where the opportunities lie from a fundraising standpoint, right? So we quickly dug into the past. We were fortunate that we arrived around the time of the 50th anniversary. Dean Weil quickly wrote another book about the 50th anniversary, which was a great resource for us. And we kind of defined, in terms of fundraising, 3 really significant defining moments, right? The first, of course, when June McCash was appointed director and started the program. None of this would be possible without that. I don't think any of us can really comprehend how revolutionary that was at the time, particularly for a woman to be placed in that sort of leadership role. That was 1973. So certainly always want to pay homage to our past. Of course, about 20 years later, 25 years later, give or take, Paul and Lee Martin came along. It's a phenomenal story, which we can't get into today, but saw what the program was doing and thought we needed to elevate it and take the next step, right? So this building that we're in today would not have been possible without that vision. So we're so grateful for that opportunity. And then Dr. Buchanan left a very significant portion of his estate to MTSU and specifically to the Honors College. You hear a lot about these national and international awards that our students are winning. They're highly competitive, right? There are brilliant, we don't like to admit this, there are brilliant students at every university. What distinguishes one brilliant student from another is oftentimes the experience that he or she gets. It's that research experience, it's that travel, study abroad experience. It's something that they can talk about in their interview that gives them that global vision that Dean Weil was talking about. And the Buchanan Scholarship does that for, I guess he said about 80 students a year. So we've got a lot more honor students than just those 80. So that is kind of what helped frame our thought process as we move forward. You look at the present, we were able to add the Buchanan transfer scholars. That funding, again, is having a transformational impact. It's led to, as Dean Weil said, historically, there was a point in time where we were only getting 1 or 2 national awards a year. Now we're getting several every year. And I think it is largely, our advisors would be able to speak better to that, but I think it's largely because of the experience our students are getting. So what do we do to assure that more of our students are getting more of those opportunities?
Just a couple of objectives, which we've already kind of gone over here, but it just kind of breaks down what it is that Mark and I, or he's been teaching me how to, right, do in a consistent basis. So, of course, the increased financial support that we have available, being able to meet and greet with other individuals, alumni that we haven't been able to track down, and hopefully be able to hear their stories, hear what they're doing now, hopefully being able to follow them throughout their course to know what their experiences here help them achieve in their career. And of course, just being able to increase that awareness and their achievements that we have here. Yeah.
So Dean Bile mentioned the costs associated with participating in some of these activities. He's again the better resource for this, but I think even a study away experience can cost as much as $6,000, right? And that money has to come from somewhere. Those are the kinds of experiences when they apply for these national and international awards that give them a story to tell. So we want to be able to provide as many of those experiences as we can. We looked at the numbers. The Buchanan endowment is substantial. It allows those students to do so many wonderful things. As Dean Bile said, they each get, the four-year students each get a $5,000 grant or stipend to apply to their experience. Our transfer Buchanans get $2,500 to apply to their experience. In a perfect world, we would want all of our honors students to have those kinds of resources. We looked at the money that's available to our non-Buchanan honors students and realized it would take about $1.2 million endowed to double what we currently have available, right? So if we want twice as many of our non-Buchanan students to have the same types of experiences that the Buchanans are having, we would need to raise $1.2 million endowed. That's a huge number. It's an ambitious number. I've worked at 4 universities in fundraising. I've never had a goal where you're trying to double the money. Usually you're trying to grow it by a percentage or incrementally. So it's very ambitious, but I believe in Katie, I believe in our group, and I believe we can do it.
Katie,
she's going to do it. She's going to do
We're
it.
gonna do it.
Most campaigns, and I don't want to get too deep in the weeds on this, but most campaigns, when's the last time anybody saw a campaign that failed? You know, United Way says we're going to raise $2 million, and do they ever announce we raised, 1.7? Most campaigns are successful because the bulk of the money comes from large gifts, and those gifts tend to be secured on the front end. Most campaigns talk about that as the quiet phase of a campaign. And that's kind of the way we're treating this whole process. We think of this as the quiet phase of the campaign, where we're reaching out to some of our best known, most loyal alums and donors, testing this to see if there's actual interest in the mission, in the vision that we're creating. And then that helps set the bar for what the goal will be. Most campaigns, I'm letting you in on a little fundraising secret here, most campaigns don't go public until they have about 70% of the money committed, even if it's kind of a verbal or written commitment, right? Because again, they want it to be successful. So we're out testing, and when I say we, Katie is doing the heavy lifting on this. We're out testing this, we kind of call it a feasibility study or a feasibility approach, testing this interest, trying to get some feedback, see how it needs to be adjusted and tweaked. We're trying to seek multi-year commitments. What we know is regardless of somebody's capacity to give, we're all capable of giving more over a 5-year period than we are over a one-time gift. And one of the areas where I think we have a lot of opportunity to grow is in planned gifts. So we'll talk about that a little bit more. Planned gift is the term we use to define anybody who wants to leave a portion of their estate to the university. So we, thanks to Katie and a very generous donor, have our first planned gift. We went back as far as 10 years and didn't see anything. Obviously, Dr. Buchanan, his gift was a planned gift. But we have our first documented planned gift as far back as 10 years, and that's a huge opportunity for us. Most people don't realize they can give through their estates, and it's a fairly easy and simple way.
Is that still going on, that planned gift?
It is. Any time, yeah.
It continues indefinitely.
Well, I guess I probably ought to clarify, Dom, when somebody, the planned gift as we define it is when somebody says, like, if Katie were to say, you know what, the Honors College has been tremendous, I love Dean Bile, I want to leave 10% of my estate to the Honors College. So it's not, we don't receive the gift in the moment, the gift is realized once the person passes.
Right.
But if you create a culture where you normalize that, think about this, if 10 people decided to do that at a value of around $25,000, right? That's a $250,000 impact eventually on this college. And what we realize is that a lot of people may not necessarily have the means or the ability to give in the moment, so it's another outlet for them to possibly give through their estate. Yeah, we just hadn't had any documented planned gifts in a long time.
what I've seen just with my time here is a lot of conversations is, yes, we've done that in our will, or yes, we've been able to go ahead and talk to so-and-so about that. And that's where Mark and I are really working hard on being able to say, well, I'd love to see that, right? Being able to document it in our office. Therefore, when and if someone passes, we know exactly where that money needs to go, and it's based on what their preferences were.
Yeah, we want to make sure that their money is used in the way that they want it to be used, and it's better to have that documented before they're gone.
Yeah.
Yes, Don?
You may be covering this later, but I bet Andy would be happy to sell you an insurance policy as well.
I bet he would, yeah. Thrilled to have Andy here, and Andy, I mean, I could get sidetracked so easily, and y'all know I like to talk almost as much as Dean Vile. But Andy's been a phenomenal resource since before I arrived. Andy was the first person to call me and say, we're thrilled to have you come into MTSU. Let me know how I can help. And that's what we want from all of our boards, right? We want all of our boards saying, how can we help? We've got to get more people involved, more people invested in our success. And we're going to talk about some of that as we move forward. So the idea is we're in this quiet phase. We're trying to get a baseline of what we think we can raise by talking to the people that are most likely to support us. That will help us set a real goal. Notice at the top it says tentative goal, right? We're trying to figure out what we can set as a real goal. Once we feel like we've exhausted all of our known prospects or individuals who might give, or once we've reached 75% of our tentative goal, that's when we'll likely go public with this phase. And you know, you may be asking yourself, what is the public portion of the phase? That's where we call on everybody to give whatever they can. So for some people it may be $10 a month, for other people it may be $50, but that's the opportunity to get everyone involved and make everyone feel like they are part of the success. So where are we now? Progress to date. Katie, you want to take that one?
Plan progress to date. So since July 1st, 2023, Mark knows that I was not hired at this point. But since then, we have been able to document the $111,144.52. I'm the best at math, guys. Total cash received. And then through that pledge documented that we were speaking about earlier, we obviously are at the 300,000 mark, just a little bit over that. And that's an incredible place to be, since being here just about 6-ish months, we feel like that's a great way to start.
Yeah, Katie started in October, but if you know anything about onboarding, you know that first month you're just figuring out the rules and regulations, you're trying to get up to speed as quickly as you can. We hit the holidays, so in earnest, we had our first campaign meeting with Dean Vile in February of 2024. So she has done a phenomenal job in that short period of time. As we mentioned, first documented planned gift in the last 10 years. That helps that number, that 225,000 number. Huge help to that number there. We have one new named scholarship. We want to give Robin a shout out. She wrote a phenomenal story about the first thesis that was ever published. Someone who read that story said, wow, we didn't even know that. That's our mother. That's our mother-in-law. We want to see if there's something we can do to honor her. So we were able to establish that endowment. And then thanks to another very generous donor, it always gets tricky if you haven't checked with the person before you speak, but thanks to another very generous donor, we have established already our Honors College Excellence Endowment. So,
What's that?
yep, that's where we're going. So Dean Vile mentions the University Honors Fund. That's where the majority of the typical gifts go. So if you give $10 or $50 or $100, we try to direct that. It allows the dean and his faculty and staff to address their greatest priorities and needs. It's unrestricted money within the Honors College, right? What the challenge for that is it's a little unpredictable, because you may get some money one year and then it may decline the next year. You can't really make firm plans on that money because you're not exactly sure how much is going to come in from one year to the next. This fund, this new Honors College Excellence Endowment, provides the same flexibility to the dean, but it does it in perpetuity, right? So it provides a very predictable stream of income for Dean Vile or whoever succeeds him to make plans, to recruit, to create incentives for his students, right? But thanks to the generous donor who helped us establish that, we are already at a balance of $25,000. $138 in that new endowment. That's all new money that's been secured in the last 6 months. And in addition to that, and thanks to the generosity of several others who can't be here today, we have additional documented pledges to that endowment, 5-year commitments of $70,000. So what we know right now, and that's Katie and more importantly the donors who are making that happen, right? So what we know right now is 5 years from now, we will have a minimum of $95,000 in that endowment. That's extraordinary, right? So we're pretty excited about that. I'm glad y'all are too. Next steps. So the job now is to continue knocking on those doors, visiting with those people, spreading the message, and all of this is still under the auspices of trying to determine whether or not that $1.2 million goal is feasible. On the previous slide you saw we have $300,000 committed, so not quite, I guess that's about a quarter of the way there. We need to get to 75% of the way there before we go public. But we don't want to drag this out forever. So we may end up having to adjust our goal a little bit. I told you it's a very ambitious goal. To double your money in a short period of time is very ambitious. But we felt that growing it by 50% wasn't ambitious enough. And in fact, if we were going to only grow it by 50%, and for those of you who don't like numbers, I apologize. I love numbers. If we were going to only grow it by 50%, that's a $600,000 goal. And you can see we're already at 300,000. So we're going to keep shooting for that larger number until we can't, right? Our next step is to continue talking to individuals, trying to get more commitments like the one that helped us establish the endowment. We want to test the public phase of the campaign, the launching of the public phase through True Blue Give. Hopefully you all know what that is, but True Blue Give is our mass appeal to everyone to participate in whatever way they can. The average gift that comes in during True Blue Give is $25 to $50, so it really is an opportunity for everyone to participate. But what we're going to do is use that gift that was established, that was given to establish the Honors Excellence Endowment, and challenge our honors alums to match that. And our hope is to find 50 individuals who will give $100 each. That's $9 a month. We feel like that's doable. To give you some perspective though, we have about 40 alums who give every year. We have about 90 total donors who give every year. And by the way, those numbers are higher than the average as a percentage base than most of the other colleges. So to double the number of alums giving, again, would be a monumental task, but we feel like it's possible. We've got a full staff now, we've got a plan to attack that, and we're really excited about that. In addition to True Blue Give, which happens in February, we were very fortunate to meet a woman who was eager to host an event. She said, I'm a proud alum, I love my university, I want to be more involved, I want to be more invested in its success. What can I do? And Katie and I met with her along with a few of our other colleagues. Dean Weil has graciously, he talked about signing up for things earlier and maybe overcommitting. He's graciously offered to lead kind of a book discussion around the Founding Fathers, and that will be hosted in late October. We were hoping to share the invitation with you today. It's not quite ready. But we're using that to invite alumni from a certain age group because it's in her home. She has a limited space, but we're going to invite a small group of people to come to that home. We're going to just share with them a little bit. We're using the excuse of the book and Dean Weil's expertise on constitutional, all things constitutional, as an excuse to meet with them and share with them a little bit of our vision and how important their involvement and investment is in our success.
Mark, can I say one thing about the True Blue Give campaign? So just like Mira, who stepped out, trying to find ways that we can engage students, just another good way for us as fundraisers to build that culture. So we can say we have this matching gift, just as you explained, but be able to, as a whole, MTSU know where that money is going, and they can watch that thermometer grow. So absolutely. I just think it's a great opportunity that we have to be able to bring those students back into something, and they can feel like they're really a part of it.
Absolutely. So we're going to continue to assess the progress on a monthly basis through the spring. and then make a decision, hopefully in the fall, about what our next step is. Do we need to adjust our goal? Do we need to set it higher, right? But that's our plan to get us through the rest of fall and through the spring. How can you help? We ask everyone we meet with to consider 3 things, right? We hope everyone will consider making an annual gift. That's one gift, any size, once a year. You can give to anything on campus. Obviously, we hope they give to the Honors College. Don't want to break Dean Biles' heart, but when we talk to the board at the Jones College of Business, we say we hope they give to the Jones College of Business. We hope people give wherever they see the greatest impact and wherever they feel best. And we know based on the experience that our students are getting here, that they have great feelings about their time here. Part of what we want to do with that message is to say you don't have to give a lot, right? Just get started. If every alum of this university gave $10 a month, it would be an $18 million impact, right? Now we know that young alums who have student debt and are starting families and have other priorities are probably not in a position to give. We also know older alums can probably give more than $10 a month. That's a baseline average that if we can motivate and inspire people to just make this an annual commitment, once a year, I'm going to remember to give back. We can transform this university almost overnight. Yes, sir.
Is that 18 million per year?
Yes, sir.
Every year?
If every alum, 150,000 people, gave $10 a month, the math translates to $18 million.
Per year.
Yep. It's unbelievable. Now, the reality is, Don, that even the best universities typically get no more than 10% of their alums that give back. But it does make a strong case, right? It makes a very strong case. So Honors has around 1,000 alums, right? So if y'all can help me with the math on that, if every Honors alum gave $10 a month, it would be $1.2 million, right? Annually.
Andy says yes.
Annually. Yeah, that's incredible. And, despite, whatever extenuating circumstances that some people have, and especially our young grads, we don't want to put that pressure on them. But most people can do $9 a month or $10 a month if we can convince them that it's going to make a difference. And we have no doubt it will make a difference, right? So we ask everyone we meet with 3 things. Make an annual gift. Consider an endowed gift. Most people don't realize what it takes to establish an endowed scholarship. Dean Bile mentioned it earlier. I can't tell you how many times in my career someone has said, oh my goodness, you mean I can do that for $5,000 a year? Absolutely. So part of that messaging is just getting the word out. And then a planned gift. We've already talked about that. I think in many ways, that's the easiest way to support your nonprofit of choice. But it's also in some ways the most difficult one because it requires you to think about your legacy and make plans for your estate after you're gone. But oftentimes people have more assets than they realize, right? So you can have a transformational impact that way as well. Other ways you can help, these are kind of generic, but they're very meaningful to me. We ask everyone to be proud, be involved, and be invested. You should be very proud of what's happening here at MTSU. The Gates Cambridge Scholarship, it's, to Dean Biles' point, 90 in the world are chosen. 30, I thought it was 25, Dean Biles says 30. 30 in the United States are chosen. It is a full scholarship to Cambridge University, one of the most prestigious universities in the world, with a stipend of $25,000 a year. It's incredible. 25 students, 30 students were selected. One of them is an MTSU Blue Raider. It's absolutely incredible. I get chills talking about it. But it's only one award of the many that our students are winning, right? From Fulbrights to Goldwaters. It's what we're doing here, and I had a chance to talk with Lee briefly in the hallway. You're opening up the world for students. You are literally changing their lives and showing them possibilities that they probably didn't consider living in rural nearby Tennessee. So be proud, be involved, be invested. Help us identify those people who might be willing to invest in the Honors College. Help us start those conversations so that we're blowing past that tentative goal. And remind people that one gift, any size, every year, can and does make a difference. Questions? Kind of flew through that quickly. I hope it all made sense.
it's got, what, 2 more years of people that have made a 5-year
Yeah,
commitment.
yeah. Yeah, I think there are a couple things. You know, as Dean Vile said, sometimes you hesitate to say things while the camera's on, but we don't have the same muscle of marketing, right? When you do a campaign, you think about United Way or the Salvation Army and how those have become rituals within our society. We don't have the same muscle of marketing, and the mass public phase is about letting the world know. We don't have that. We've got 6 development officers, we've got 1 annual giving director, right? She works with 150,000 people. So we just don't have the marketing muscle. But that's where I think we use our volunteers better. That's where we need to give you all a script. And to the extent that you're willing and able and comfortable, we need you to be our advocates in this process. We know you get called on. You know, part of what I've said since I've arrived here, we know we can count on Don and Hannah Witherspoon and Andy Womack and the Midgets, and we've got to get new people in the fold, right? And I think we all know that. We do see this campaign as a way to do that. True Blue Give is going to be our first test where we're going to, now that we've had that position filled, we're going to actively call people. So historically, True Blue Give has been primarily a social media effort because, again, we don't have the resources. But we're gonna try to do a little pre-letter around True Blue Give for the Honors College, all the social media that we've done in the past, along with some phone calls, really kind of selling this message. I don't think there are a ton of limitations other than getting the word out, because I think people have great experiences with the Honors College. I think they're eager to support. I'll share with y'all candidly, this is probably the only university I've worked at where I've been here 2 years, I've yet to meet anyone who said they don't love this place, right? Every university has a few people that go through there and they think, oh man, I was so frustrated, I couldn't stand, you know, X, Y, or Z about that. Everyone loves this place. This is a transformational university, in part because of the students we're bringing in, but also because of the opportunities that we're able to provide, the personal connection. I'll share another story. We all like sharing stories. Dean Vile's not the only one. We just hired an honors grad, and we hired her in part because her story was so compelling. She was a transfer student who had opportunities to go anywhere, but she told me when the dean called me and offered me a scholarship, no other place did that, right?
I think she spoke to us last year, did she?
She may have. I wasn't here.
Johari, yes.
Johari Hamilton.
She was one of the speakers at last year's board meeting.
Not last year, the year before.
Oh, year before,
Yeah.
okay.
She's outstanding, and what an honor and a privilege to have her on our team. And immediately, so Katie will tell you, as soon as we meet, as soon as I hire someone, we have a lot of meetings, but one of the things I tell them is we can't be out there asking people to give back if we're not doing that ourselves, right? So I don't care how much you give, and I don't really care what you give to. Give to something meaningful to you, but I need you to make a contribution to this university, right? Johari's the only person I've hired that I didn't have to say that to, because as soon as she was hired, she went running to Katie's office and said, I want to give back. In fact, she says, Paul Martin told me that when I reach a place where I'm able to give back, she cites him specifically. When I reach a place where I'm able to give back, I want to do that. And she credits Paul for that, she credits Dean Vile for that, and a lot of other great influences in her life. But I didn't have to have that conversation with Johari. She was eager to do it as soon as she got hired. Great question, Don.
I just also want to give so much thanks to all of you who've had the opportunity we've had to meet, maybe to have conversations about the Honors College. Those of you that have also given me stories that I just can't Google and find out. It's always good to know kind of what it is, the history of the university and y'all's experiences. Oh, Robin. Or whenever I meet with you all. So I just want to go ahead and say thank you to each and every one of you who have taken the time to meet with Mark and I and given us just wonderful opportunities to learn a little bit more about how you all love this place.
I like having a little air in the conversation to breathe, because I'm going to come back to Don's question, what's the obstacle? Katie's been here less than a year. I've been here 2 years. We're new to this community. We have a database of 150,000 people that we're sorting through. You all know who loves this university. You all know who cares about the success of its students. You all can save us a lot of time, oftentimes, if you can connect us with the right people. I can't tell you how many times I've met with a donor who didn't see themselves as a donor until we kind of explained the opportunities and possibilities in front of them. And the level of satisfaction that they tend to get out of making that first major commitment is transformational. It's transformational for the student, it's transformational for the donor. So I have full faith we can do this, but it's going to take everyone's help. Yes, sir?
Quick question. So what's the outreach relative to staff, and administrators, and faculty? So I worked here. My wife was a stay-at-home mom for 25 years. We had 2 little kids, and so I was unable to, in the moment, give $10,000. But
Yep.
we put, I think, $1,800 down, and then $100 came out of my check
Yeah.
a month
Yeah.
before it reached the named scholarship piece.
Yeah.
And for me, that was so practical, and at the same time, it was super cool that I was able to do it.
Absolutely. So I mentioned earlier that on average, we get about 40 alums every year who give back, but we have 90 total donors who give back, right? A lot of those are faculty and staff, and a lot of them are doing that, again, because we don't have the marketing muscle behind us. A lot of them are doing that on their own choice, like Jahari. Jahari is saying, that's important enough to me that I want to give back, like you. It speaks to that previous slide, right? That $10 a month, if we all do it, if we all did it, $18 million impact on this campus. Yes, sir?
Do you have any donors that are not middle graduates, not middle, not anywhere associated with middle?
Absolutely.
And where do they come from and why?
Absolutely. It's typically relationships. I'm going to use one example that's been previously cited just because I think it's one that we're all familiar with, and I hope he doesn't mind. We typically don't talk about individuals giving publicly, but Jeff Worley's been very supportive of this program. His connection is his uncle, as far as I know.
Okay.
He did not go to school here. We have lots of people like that. I met a man yesterday at the Alley who I think is very interested in getting involved and connected. Once people move to this community, and once you reach a place in life, like Vincent was saying, you may not be there while you're working, but once you reach a place in life where you look in your closet and you've got all the shoes you need and you've got all the ties you need, you begin to think about how you spend your money a little differently, right? And there are tons of people in this community that I think would love to see this university continue on its positive trajectory.
Yeah. Middle Tennessee, Murfreesboro.
Yes, sir. Other great questions.